New Zealand's agricultural policy differs significantly from the European policy in many aspects. Analyzing the political context is important to understand how the agricultural knowledge and innovation systems in New Zealand work. This video shows how the absence of subsidies and a result-oriented policy dialogue supports change and innovation in New Zealand's agriculture.
The subsidy is the key difference between the European system and the New Zealand system. We don't have subsidies in New Zealand. There is no backstop. So if you don't innovate or keep ahead, you're out. So this drives desire to learn, to be ahead of the game, to be changing, to be looking, to be transformational in your thinking, because if you don't, you won't be farming any longer.
It's a natural human reaction. If you are paid to do something and you don't have to change because the market doesn't demand it, you're not going to change. If you're always looking to the market first and backwards, as New Zealand has to, then we naturally drive innovation. I think we naturally are more prone to be responsive and more innovative, I think.
New Zealand farmers have been living in a subsidy-free world for over 30 years now. This is difficult. We're facing the vagaries of world markets, but farmers have retained a sense of motivation and opportunity, which has driven innovation and change. Like farmers all over the world, New Zealand farmers are facing challenges to improve their environmental performance. There's been a very strong philosophy in New Zealand of solve the problem. The mantra that we run and that farmers believe in is don't tell us what to do, tell us what you want to achieve, let's agree on that and then we will do it.
European approach, from what I believe, is very prescriptive, where New Zealand approach isn't. So for example, say the NVZ regulations around nitrogen use. They'll stipulate how many kilograms of nitrogen a farmer can use, how many kilograms of slurry, what they've got to do with it. But in New Zealand, our approach is output based. So we're not going to tell you what you need to do, so the decision making stays with the farmer, where my understanding is the decision making in Europe stays with a policy maker. So farmers have less input into the decisions they're able to make. In New Zealand, we retain that New Zealand farmer-led, working with industry.
Despite all these positive dynamics, many farmers in New Zealand are uncertain whether they are on the right track.
Right now in New Zealand, farmers are fogged in. Their confidence is low despite profits being quite good. And when we ask them the question, do the rewards of farming exceed the efforts? Right now, 3/4 of farmers are saying no.
There are several reasons for this. For example, succession and inability to sell the farm, uncertainties about environmental policy goals, or media coverage, which is perceived by the farmers as mainly negative.
So in all the things that are making farmers uncertain, some of them are outside all of our control. We can't make the land market work. Changing public perceptions is a long and difficult process. Around environmental policy, we've done a lot of work around there, and we're now starting to see a lot more certainty coming out. So giving farmers confidence that the targets are achievable, that they have the tools and it's within their control, I think is a critical thing to do.
The policy developments have led to greater autonomy for the agricultural sectors. As a consequence, the organization of advice and knowledge transfer is mainly structured around the different sectors.
I feel in New Zealand we're still very siloed. We have sheep and beef, and we have dairy, and we have wine growing, and we have horticulture, yet there isn't that collaboration. I mean, we're all growing food. The levy model means that because sheep and beef farmers have paid for sheep and beef resources, so their expectation is their money will be spent on sheep and beef issues, rather than this big melting pot that benefits all farmers. Now, Dairy NZ and Beef and Lamb, I'm sure, would say we are collaborating, and I'm sure they are, but there's still the siloing that if we're going to be effective as a country, I believe we need to be thinking about.
I often hear policy people in New Zealand saying farmers are slow to adopt things. That's a nonsense. Farmers are slow to adopt things that other people think they should adopt. They're very good at adopting things that make their businesses work better or their lives easier. If we're going to be successful in transforming ourselves to where we need to be in 20 years' time, my view is that we need to maintain that motivation and that opportunity. Without motivation and opportunity, this looks like really hard work.